It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam
on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me, 5 o'clock. Good morning. It is Tuesday, August 12th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Clouds this morning, sunshine this afternoon, high 89. Tonight and overnight clear, low 76. And then Wednesday we'll kind of do it all over again, though it'll be mostly cloudy. Afternoon thunderstorm possible, high 88. If you're walking out the door with us right now, 69 partly cloudy in Glen Cove out on Long Island, 59 partly cloudy in Hanover in New Jersey, and it's 70 and cloudy right outside our Midtown studios.
The top 5 at 5.
Monday was a rough one for lifeguards at area beaches. The president gets pushed back to his plan to rescue Washington, D.C. Andrew Cuomo, Zohran Mamdani trading insults on the campaign trail. Some chilling 911 calls from a double murder-suicide are released. And a Fordham grad gets a ring back he lost more than 50 years ago. All right, let's get into it at 5:01. It was a dangerous day to be at the beach. The rip currents apparently were pretty bad yesterday. So hearing a number of incidents across both New York and New Jersey, one of them from Brooklyn, though it's not clear what happened to this woman. She died after being pulled from the water in Brooklyn last night. 55-year-old found unconscious, unresponsive near Manhattan Beach. This was about 6:15 p.m. First responders removed the woman from the water as witnesses watched on.
Something happened because there was a bunch of paramedics, firefighters, and they all carried her like all at once. Sad. Yeah, I don't know if they had some kind of like medical condition or maybe they had something going on.
She was taken to Coney Island Hospital where she was pronounced dead.
Wow. Yeah, usually things like it's a very peaceful neighborhood, so I wouldn't know why someone would drown.
It's scary. You wonder what's going on. It could have been anyone. So it's really scary. You have to be careful.
So we don't know who she is, but the incident took place about 15 minutes after lifeguards went off duty. That's about 6 o'clock. No further details provided there. And then in New Jersey, one man dead, 4 others in stable condition after getting caught in a rip current at an unguarded Seaside Heights beach last night. Seaside Heights Fire Department received calls for reports of multiple swimmers in distress. This was about 6:30, right about the time as the one in Manhattan Beach. They responded to the Webster Avenue beach where they deployed 2 jet skis to the rescue and rescued 4 or 5 of the swimmers. They were all taken to Community Medical Center in Toms River, but one of those swimmers has passed away. They have not given his identity yet. Lifeguards in Seaside Heights, they usually leave their chair around 5 p.m. So this happened about an hour and a half after those lifeguards went off duty. 5:03. Over to Paterson, New Jersey, where people have been without water, many of them anyway, since Friday. The people who do have water in some cases, some 185,000 customers, have to boil it first. Now the Passaic Valley Water Commission telling us they successfully isolated this leak that started this all from a 30-inch water main near Hinchcliffe Stadium in Paterson. This was last night, so this will mark what will hopefully be a significant step towards restoring normal water service in Paterson and nearby Prospect Park. The water main caused this widespread disruption, prompting a boil water advisory that remains in effect. A significant portion of Paterson have been out running water since early Friday morning when this main broke open.
Oh my God, I hope everything will be okay today because it's not fair.
It's horrible trying to get washed and cooking.
Yeah, porta potties, portable showers, they've been set up. Thousands of cases of free bottled water were being handed out even last night. Mayor Andre Sea, he's the mayor of Patterson. He believes that recent earthquakes in North Jersey have a lot to do with the break in this 140-year-old water pipe.
We're looking at a line that's over 140 years old, and I believe it was exacerbated by the situation relative to the earthquakes that we have.
I don't know about that, but system pressure is beginning to rise in affected areas as crews continue to work around the clock to complete these repairs. And what we're being told from some people who did not have water yesterday is they're starting to get it back this morning. So that's the good news. But that boil water advisory, that's still in effect for about 185,000 customers. 5:05. Police in Puerto Rico have made an arrest tied to that fatal shooting of a Queens man who was visiting the island for a Bad Bunny concert. Bullets flew inside a bar near Old San Juan on Sunday, killing 25-year-old Queens resident Kevin Morris. Morris was on vacation with his longtime girlfriend, was inside this bar when a scuffle broke out. It was about 4 a.m. Now, he had nothing to do with this fight. It was just a stray bullet that hit him and killed him. His mother back in Queens, she's happy there's been an arrest made.
A year ago, they bought the tickets, and then, they were so excited to attend to Bad Bunny concert. Some mother, and then you lose your 25 years old. I mean, of course, it's crazy.
Now, as of early this morning, cops had not ID'd this suspected shooter. It's unclear what sparked the beef. Here's more from Kevin Morris's mother.
Everybody is devastated, but we're trying to be strong for our 15-year-old son. He was a really good son and beautiful soul. Everybody's gonna miss him.
Now, the family launching a GoFundMe page seeking donations to bring his body back home to the Big Apple. 5:06. The candidates for mayor, they were trading insults on the campaign trail yesterday.
Former governor and New York City mayoral candidate Andrew Cuomo is accusing his opponent, Zohran Mamdani, of callous theft from people who cannot afford market value rent.
And I'm going to call it Zohran's Law because it's an abuse of the system. And it's a fraud. Mamdani is a man who can obviously afford rent. He's a man of means, but he's living in a rent-stabilized apartment.
It's Cuomo's latest attempt to dislodge the 33-year-old's frontrunner status in the New York City mayor's race. I'm Lisa Ritchie, 77 WABC News.
New York City's last remaining hotel in its emergency system that houses migrants is closing.
Mayor Eric Adams made that announcement at the beginning of the week, citing a steady decline in the number of migrants arriving in the Big Apple. Families who currently live in the Row NYC, a 4-star hotel in Manhattan's Theater District, will be moved to other shelters by the time the city's lease with the hotel expires in April. The Row, with its 1,300 rooms, was the first and largest hotel to be turned into a migrant shelter when tens of thousands of migrants began overwhelming New York City resources in 2022. James Flippin for 77 WABC News.
5:09. 3 people dead after a shooting that happened at a Target store in Austin yesterday. The police chief there says the gunman carjacked a car but then crashed it as he tried to escape. This was after the bullets flew inside this Target.
Then hijacked another car. He was then found by Austin PD where he was taken into custody after a tasing.
Yeah, she says the suspect has a history of mental health issues. She did not give a possible reason for the attack, which happened about 2 in the afternoon.
We have a male white suspect who appears to be 32 years of age, does have a mental health history.
And now still investigators say they're reviewing surveillance footage outside of the Target to get a better idea of exactly what took place. 5:09, the investigation continuing into Friday's deadly shooting near the CDC and Emory University that claimed the life of a DeKalb County police officer and left the gunman dead. Correspondent Priya Shadur reports the officer identified as 33-year-old David Rose.
Rose was a father of 2 children with a third on the way and had recently graduated from the police academy in March. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation identifying 30-year-old Patrick Joseph White as the suspected shooter.
Now, the motive for the shooting is still unclear, but White had reportedly claimed that he had been sickened by a COVID vaccine, so maybe that's the connection to the CDC. The union representing CDC employees say staffers have endured months of mistreatment, neglect, and vilification, and there's worried about scientists' safety. safety.
Officials say police heard gunfire inside a CVS pharmacy and that several rounds went into the CDC nearby. Authorities later finding White on the second floor of the CVS building with a gunshot wound.
Now, one former CDC employee says she's not surprised at all by the gunfire.
Among us folks that work at CDC or have connections to CDC, something like this is always in the back of our mind.
WABC News Time 5:10, 2 dead. 10 others injured after an explosion at a U.S. steel plant in Pennsylvania. Happened Monday at the U.S. Clairton Coke Works plant in Clairton. That's a little bit south of Pittsburgh.
This is a tragedy that we want to understand. We're under the investigation, and we will continue to work not only with the folks behind me, but the families of those that have been affected.
There's a U.S. Steel spokesperson who says the cause of the explosion is still not known. 10 others injured.
Our focus right now is just continuing our search for one unaccounted.
Actually, though, all the that's an old bite, but all the people who were unaccounted for, thankfully, have been accounted for. Now, the plant that produces material coke, which is used in the making of steel. Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman, he drove to the scene yesterday.
Thoughts go to the families. They've lost someone today, and it's just absolutely tragic. And now I grieve for these families.
Yeah, of course, more on that investigation as details come in about why and how that explosion happened. We'll pass it on to you. 5:12 down to Washington. President Trump announcing a major crackdown on crime in the nation's capital. He said he will rescue Washington, D.C., calling today, or rather yesterday, Liberation Day.
Under the authorities vested in me as the President of the United States, I'm officially invoking Section 740 of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act. You know what that is? And placing the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department under direct federal control.
So what he did is activated the National Guard to help local law enforcement as part of his plan because they said something had to be done.
The murder rate in Washington today is higher than that of Bogota, Colombia, Mexico City, some of the places that you hear about. Our capital city has been overtaken by violent gangs and bloodthirsty criminals, roving mobs of wild youth, drugged out maniacs and homeless people.
The mayor of Washington, D.C., though, pushing back against that narrative, saying that crime actions in the nation's capital have come down lately.
And while this action today is unsettling and unprecedented, I can't say that given some of the rhetoric of the past, that we're totally surprised.
Democratic Mayor Muriel Bowser reacting to what the president did yesterday.
Chief Pamela Smith is the chief of the Metropolitan Police Department. That is why you have heard me and many Washingtonians before me advocate for full statehood for the District of Columbia.
513 nearby Maryland, the illegal immigrant convicted of raping and killing a woman on a Maryland hiking trail. Sentenced yesterday, life in prison without parole. Victor Martinez Hernandez received 2 consecutive life sentences plus 40 years after the family of Rachel Morin delivered emotional statements in court yesterday. Rachel's mom, Patty Morin, says she believes justice has now been served.
I felt relieved that he's never going to see the light of day outside of a fence, that another person is not going to feel this grief.
Prosecutors say DNA evidence linked Martinez Hernandez to the 2023 attack, which left the Bel Air, Maryland mother of 5 in a drainage ditch. Martinez Hernandez was only arrested in Oklahoma last year after he re-entered the U.S. illegally. 514, while we're talking about illegal immigrants, Democratic lawmakers fuming about the hurdles before them to visit ICE detention centers across the country, including one in Aurora, Colorado. Congresswoman Diana DeGette says it's getting harder to conduct oversight in these ICE detention centers.
In the past, what happened was if a congressional staffer or a member of Congress wanted to visit someone in here, they could come in and visit them and have the release right there and have it signed. It's just another attempt to stop people from visiting their constituents.
A fellow Democrat, Jason Crow, suing the Trump administration over being denied access to the facility.
This has been the most difficult visit in terms of getting information
in getting answers out of the facility, out of the employees, and being obstructed from conducting full oversight that I've had in over 6 years, which is unacceptable.
Department of Homeland Security has said lawmakers need to schedule a visit, but Democrats don't want to have to do that. 5:15. In a moment, we'll tell you what's going on in Texas with those Democratic lawmakers and how they're asking people to drop a dime on them. We'll get into that in a moment. But first, let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk. Good morning, Justin Allen.
Good morning. It is Noam Layden. New York Yankees finally won a baseball game last night. How about that?
Hallelujah.
Oh, my goodness gracious. We're out in the Bronx. Will Warren gave up 3 hits and 2 runs in 6 2/3 innings to become the first Yankee starting pitcher to get an out in the 7th inning in a month in a 6-2 win over the Minnesota Twins. Warren, who allowed homers to Byron Buxton and Trevor Larnach, struck out 7 and walked none before Luke Weaver and David Bednar finished off the win. It was the first time the Yankees won a series opener since the All-Star break. The last Yankees pitcher to get an out in the 7th was Carlos Rodon, who pitched 8 innings July 11th against the Chicago Cubs. Cody Bellinger, Giancarlo Stanton, and Ben Rice homered against Minnesota starter Zebby Matthews. Jazz Chisholm Jr. homered in the 8th. And after Trent Grisham and Aaron Judge hit RBI singles in the 7th, Warren took a shutout into the 5th until Buxton homered. He was 1 strike away from finishing the 7th until Larnach went deep. Bellinger ended a 12-game homerless drought, in the 1st. Stanton and Rice homered in the 3rd, marking the 8th time the Yankees had back-to-back homers this year. Yankees are 10-3 when homering at least 4 times in a game this year. Stanton hit his 10th homer in his last 25 games and his first when playing the field since August of 2023 against Houston. And with his dinger, Stanton is now tied for 44th all-time at 444 career home runs. The Yanks still sit 2.5 games back of the Boston Red Sox for second place in the division. And they're now a full game up on Cleveland for the 3rd and final AL wildcard spot. And then up next, Carlos Rodon will get the start in tonight's middle game of this 3-game series against Minnesota. First pitch is scheduled for 7:05 p.m. tonight from Yankee Stadium. As for the Mets, they were off yesterday, but get set to open a 3-game series tonight against the division rival Braves. They sit 6 games back now in Philadelphia for first place in the NL East and 2 games up on Cincinnati for the 3rd and final NL wildcard spot. Clay Holmes will get the start tonight in what will be a 7:10 p.m. first pitch from Citi Field. That is your Sports Gnome, and I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
Let's go 5:18 down to Texas. The Texas State House has once again failed to reach quorum after Democrats left the state to stop the Republican-led redistricting effort. The House has been trying to reach a quorum since last week, but Democrats, they're not in Texas, so they can't do it.
So we're looking for 12 Democrats to make sure we're going to be able to vote on these maps, as well as to address very important things such as helping the flood victims.
That's Texas Republican Governor Greg Abbott. He says officers are searching in-state for Democrats and working with out-of-state police to see if they can help bring them back.
And we are working with law enforcement and taking other actions in other parts of the country to see if we can uncover any Democrat who can be brought back to the state. Texas law enforcement scouring the state to find out if there's any Democrat in the state of Texas that can be taken to the Capitol.
Yeah, House Speaker there says state troopers are out and about.
They are set up outside members' homes, conducting surveillance, knocking on doors, calling their phones multiple times a day.
He's urging Democrats to come back to Austin for a vote today on several flood-related bills. No sign that the Democrats will do that. The House Speaker actually has opened up a tip line that you can call if you've seen one of these Democrats in Texas.
We are keeping receipts for every gallon of gas and every hour of overtime associated with the pursuit of these missing members.
Meanwhile, California voters will see proposed congressional maps this week as Democratic leaders aim to target 5 Republican-held seats there in the House. Assembly Speaker Robert Rivas recently said the process will be transparent, allowing voters to decide whether to move forward with map redistricting.
As these maps are released, voters will have the opportunity to digest these maps, review them for weeks and months leading to this election.
It's Governor Newsom who's called for the special election this November to vote on the new maps. Newsom says it's in response to the redistricting efforts that are going on in the Lone Star State. While we're talking Texas, getting an abortion there may become more difficult. A newly filed bill would enable lawsuits against those mailing the abortion pill to mothers without a doctor's visit.
If the mom's baby has developed more than she realizes and is too large for this process, the mom is in real danger.
The bill allows for a wrongful death lawsuit if the medication results in harm or death of a fetus or the mother. It also takes aim at so-called shield laws, which protect out-of-state doctors by routing the lawsuit into federal court.
If you are making these pills and sending them to Texas to kill little unborn babies, you're going to be held accountable. That's what this bill does.
521 down to Washington. The president talking about Ukraine's leader in this big meeting that's going to take place this week in Alaska with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Trump says he's unsure where Putin stands on the war in Ukraine right now.
I believe he wants to get it over with. Now, I've said that a few times, and I've been disappointed because I'd have like a great call with him, and then missiles would be lobbed into Kiev or some other place.
The president says he will call Ukrainian President Zelensky, other European leaders, after he talks with Putin, possibly set up a meeting with Ukraine's leader after. But he says it's not going to happen during this Alaska summit. Trump says he doesn't anticipate a deal to end the Ukraine-Russia war after meeting with Putin, and says he'll try to get both sides together, but that's what this meeting's about.
I thought it was very respectful that the president of Russia is coming to our country as opposed to us going to his country or even a third-party place.
And the president says his relationship with world leaders is getting better by the day.
Maybe as I'm leaving the room, I'll be calling the European leaders who I get along with very well. And, I have a great relationship, I think, with all of them. And I get along with Zelensky, but, I disagree with what he's done.
While we're talking about wars overseas, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu defending plans to take over Gaza City. Correspondent Matt Bradley says this was a week of protests against the war in Israel.
Netanyahu said that he would be expanding the fight in Gaza City, as well as the area of Al-Muwasi, which since October 7th of 2023 has been something of a humanitarian area. And there are thoughts that maybe some of the hostages who remain alive, of whom there are 20, could be in some of those areas.
Now, members of the UN Security Council, they met in an emergency meeting over the weekend. They condemned this new offensive. They warned that it would do nothing to bring home hostages held by Hamas for nearly 2 years now.
Answering to his critics, both at home and abroad, we heard from Prime Minister Netanyahu in English and in Hebrew in press conferences yesterday, where he said he had no choice but to attack Hamas's remaining strongholds in the Gaza Strip, and said he would go ahead with this move. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's plan, which was announced on Friday, pushed thousands of Israelis into the streets, many of them concerned that Netanyahu's plan to expand the fighting in the Gaza Strip could put the lives of those remaining hostages, of whom there are thought to be about 20 still alive, at risk.
524, let's bring it back home out to San Francisco, where a federal judge there considering evidence to decide whether the White House unlawfully deployed National Guard troops and U.S. Marines to Los Angeles during those immigration protests. Governor Gavin Newsom, LA's mayor Karen Bass, called the move illegal.
Problems in about 2 square miles. It lasted for a couple of days. I initiated a curfew. We have had no problems for weeks. So why were they here?
The Department of Defense deployed around 4,000 California National Guard troops, 700 Marines to Los Angeles, about 250 troops. They remain on duty today. California asking the court to return control of troops back to the state. While we're out in California, or at least out west, wildfires continue to race there.
A raging Colorado wildfire has forced the evacuation of all inmates at a correctional facility there. The Lee Fire, now at over 113,000 acres, ranks as the 5th largest in state history. Meanwhile, the Gifford Fire, burning on California's central coast, has now burned more than 118,000 acres of land. 3 civilians and over half a dozen firefighters have been injured. The Gifford Fire is the largest wildfire in California this year. I'm Monica Nelson.
WABC News Time 525. The Trump White House is looking at whether they could put pot into a different drug category now.
The Trump administration considering reclassifying marijuana as a less dangerous drug. Trump estimates a determination will be made over the next few weeks. Marijuana has been a Schedule I drug since 1971. This potential reclassification would continue efforts started by the Biden White House to make marijuana a Schedule III drug. That wouldn't legalize pot, but it would lessen criminal penalties. James Flippin for 77 WABC News.
I'm I'm in love with Mary Jane.
526, California farmers, AG tech companies urging lawmakers to change a 1970s regulation that banned self-driving tractors. Larry Jacobs runs 6 farms in California, says getting all the work done is a challenge.
Because if we don't have people to pick the crops, all our food costs are going to go up, and that's only going to get worse.
Jacobs has 8 robots that do tasks like lasering weeds, spraying fertilizer. Supporters of fully autonomous tractors could address worker shortages, reduce environmental impacts. They also say the technology can enhance farming efficiency and safety. But some labor groups say safety advocates are expressing concerns about the lack of a human operator. They fear if it's a machine and there's a malfunction that leads to serious accidents, nobody would be around to notice. And California robots are not allowed to operate without a human at the controls. A mountain lion is killed after attacking an 11-year-old child in Malibu, California.
The attack happened Sunday evening around 5:30. The child was reportedly possibly feeding chickens on the property when the lion bit her on the arm. KTLA-5 reports the minor was rushed to the hospital and is expected to be okay, although the extent of her injuries is unknown. Wildlife officials were able to hunt the lion down and kill it. DNA samples from the girl confirmed that lion was involved in the attack. I'm Jim Roop.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam
on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me. Good morning. It is Tuesday, August 12th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Clouds this morning, sunshine this afternoon, high 89. Tonight and overnight, clear, low 76, and then Wednesday, mostly cloudy. An afternoon thunderstorm is possible, high 88. If you're walking out the door with us right now, it is 69 and partly cloudy in Glen Cove out on Long Island. It's 59 and partly cloudy in Hanover in New Jersey. And it's 70 and cloudy right outside our Midtown studios. I want you to tell you that we're kicking off America's 250th birthday party with a big bash of our own. It's going to be Friday, September 5th in Midtown Manhattan at Cipriani's 42nd Street. Do you want to be there? Well, just as easy as going to get tickets at WABCRadioFoundation.org. WABC News Time, 5:37. A man is dead. 6 others rescued from the waters off a popular Jersey Shore destination last night.
Officials say the 7 people were swimming off an unprotected beach in Seaside Heights Monday evening. No lifeguards. The fire department's ocean rescue team was called around 7 p.m. with reports of several swimmers in distress. A rescuer pulled 6 to shore on a jet ski. The 7th person was also taken in, but he could not be saved. Fire officials say 12 other swimmers needed similar rescues this weekend after they got caught in a rip current off an unguarded beach. Andrew Whitman, NBC News Radio, New Jersey.
WABC News Time 5:38. An outbreak of Legionnaires' disease in the city's killed 3, sickened more than 90 now. That according to the New York City Health Department, which updated those numbers yesterday. So 90 confirmed cases, 3 deaths, 17 current hospitalizations. So this thing is still going on. Last week, the department had only reported 83 cases. Now, New York City Department of Health is saying that all of these cases are in central Harlem, linked to 5 zip codes there. And they're increasing enforcement now for Legionella bacteria. One provision will be a new lab certification for all buildings across the 5 boroughs. There'll also be new penalties now that will go into effect next spring for landlords who violate reporting rules or fail to keep their water systems clean. All these areas that have been affected in Harlem, the tanks and anything that might be carrying water have been cleaned out. So they're still looking for signs of that Legionella bacteria. Have not found anything new, but you still have these cases, 90 confirmed cases, 17 current hospitalizations, and 3 deaths. 5:39, out to New Jersey, where A chilling 911 call was released in that Franklin Township, New Jersey double murder-suicide from earlier this month. Police say Sergeant Ricardo Santos shot and killed his former girlfriend, 33-year-old Lauren Semenchik, and her new boyfriend, firefighter Tyler Webb, before turning the gun on himself. A lot of controversy around this shooting, that Lauren Semenchik had called police and said that she was worried that her ex-boyfriend was going to come and do something to her. Well, he did. And here's the neighbor who called police on that night to report the shooting.
I just heard a bunch of gunshots. It sounded very loud. It's not on this property. I just heard it from this property. And I heard some screaming.
Now, prosecutors say the officers who responded to the scene did not find anything. They left, but the bodies were discovered the next day by Semenchik's father inside the home. Semenchik's family claims that Santos had stalked her, that she had tried to get a restraining order, but police never called her back. She was a veterinarian. Her boyfriend, a member of the Pinewald Pioneer Volunteer Fire Company. As a result of those shootings, the Hunterdon County Prosecutor's Office has placed the Franklin Township Police Chief and Sergeant on administrative leave and have appointed a Hunterdon County Police Captain as interim officer in charge as they sort out exactly what went wrong with the police response. And then yesterday, just a god-awful story. There was what they call a ride out. So Tyler Webb was a motorcyclist, an enthusiast, and just beloved in this community. So they held a ride out of fellow motorcyclists and people in classic cars and trucks yesterday right near Central Regional High School, and a ton of people came out. It looked like hundreds of people came out. Here were some of the people who took part.
Coming back and being with everybody, it's kind of hitting a whole lot heavier now. So I know everybody's kind of heavy-hearted, but we're all trying to keep it as lighthearted and joke and, remember the good times.
He was a great kid. He was one of those kids that you could trust. This is amazing. It's like you want to cry, but you want to smile at the same time.
Yeah, a celebration of life in honor of Tyler Webb going to be held today at the Belleville Fire Department from 11 a.m. until 4 p.m. Let's bring it back here into the city, out to the campaign trail. Zohran Mamdani began the first leg of a 5-borough anti-Trump tour. That's what he's calling it. He says he's been unmoved by the threat of the National Guard coming to New York City like they did in Los Angeles.
Donald Trump does not respond well to cowardice, to collaboration. He requires a response that showcases the ability to fight back against that same agenda. And that's what I would do if and when he makes these kinds of threats.
And then there was this back and forth between Zohran Mamdani and Andrew Cuomo, the former governor, proposing something he's calling Zohran's Law after Zohran Mamdani found out that he lives in a rent-stabilized apartment. The former governor questioned why Mamdani lives in that apartment in Astoria despite his $140,000 a year salary.
And I'm going to call it Zohran's Law because it's an abuse of the system and it's a fraud.
Here's more from the governor.
Mamdani is a man who can obviously afford rent. He's a man of means, but he's living in a rent-stabilized apartment.
And Mamdani hitting back yesterday saying Cuomo only cares about politics and that the fact that he's living rent-free, as he called it, is only in the governor's head.
What do we know about this policy proposal beyond the fact that it seeks to evict me from my apartment?
Unless you're wealthy, it's basically impossible to find or stay in a home that you can afford.
And Mamdani then turned it around. He's turning up the heat on Cuomo, he said, for his alleged coordination with the president ahead of the general election, right? We had heard about this phone call between Cuomo and Trump. Both, by the way, denied that phone call took place.
We will shine a light this week and every week on the costs of this vision that is coming out of Washington, D.C. We see far too many parallels between Donald Trump and Andrew Cuomo. Now, we know a fraud when we see one.
Mamdani says he moved into his apartment when he made less than $50,000 and always intended to move out, but he opposes needs testing, which is what the governor is calling for. Meanwhile, Mayor Adams continues to expand his program to crack down on quality of life crimes. Now it's going to be these quality of life crimes will be checked out in Queens as part of a pilot that is already in Brooklyn, the Bronx, and Manhattan.
And every New Yorker deserves to live in a neighborhood that is safe from gun violence, has clean streets, and is free from illegal activities. And this administration is delivering on that.
Quality of life teams focusing on going after illegal mopeds, towing abandoned vehicles, cleaning up encampments, and responding to outdoor drug use, noise complaints as well.
For too long, the kinds of problems that chip away at a block's sense of safety have gone unaddressed. The abandoned car that hasn't moved for months, mopeds weaving through pedestrian sidewalks.
Yeah, that was the police commissioner, Jessica Tisch, who took part in that press conference as well yesterday. 5:45, let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk, and here's Justin Alec.
Thank you, Noam Liddon. We'll start here on the diamond in the Bronx. Will Warren gave up 3 hits and 2 runs in 6 2/3 innings to become the first Yankees starting pitcher to get an out in the 7th inning in a month in a 6-2 win over the Minnesota Twins. Warren, who allowed homers to Byron Buxton and Trevor Larnach, struck out 7 and walked none before Luke Weaver and David Bednar finished off the win. It was the first time the Yankees won a series opener since the All-Star break. The last Yankees pitcher to get an out in the 7th inning was Carlos Rodon, who pitched 8 July 11th against the Chicago Cubs. Cody Bellinger, Giancarlo Stanton, and Ben Rice homered against Minnesota starter Zebby Matthews. Jazz Chisholm Jr. homered in the 8th after Trent Grisham and Aaron Judge hit RBI singles in the 7th. Warren took a shutout into the 5th until Buxton homered. He was 1 strike away from finishing the 7th until Larnach homered. Bellinger ended a 12-game homerless drought in the 1st. Stanton and Rice homered in the 3rd, marking the 8th time the Yankees hit back-to-back homers this year. The Yanks are 10-3 when homering at least 4 times this season. Stanton hit his 10th homer in his last 25 games, and his first when playing the field since August 3rd of 2023 against Houston. And with his dinger, Stanton is now tied for 44th all-time at 440 career home runs. The Yanks still sit 2.5 games back of the Boston Red Sox for 2nd place in the division, and are now a full game up on Cleveland for the 3rd and final AL wildcard spot. And then up next, Carlos Rodon will get the start in tonight's middle game of this 3-game series against Minnesota. First pitch is scheduled for 7:05 p.m. tonight from Yankee Stadium. As for the Mets, they were off yesterday but set to open a 3-game series tonight against the division rival Braves. They sit 6 games back now of Philadelphia for first place in the NL East and 2 games up on Cincinnati for the 3rd and final NL wildcard spot. Clay Holmes will get the start tonight in what will be a 7:10 p.m. first pitch from Citi Field. That is your Sports Gnome, and I'm Justin Alec on 77 WABC.
Traffic desk. All right, 5:48. They're going to exhaust me before this hour is over. All right, police are searching for a man connected to looking under women's clothing dressing rooms at a Target on East 13th Street in Midwood, Brooklyn. Apparently he's done this a number of times, this total creep. So they've released a picture. We'll put it up at WABCRadio.com. Sources close to the investigation say he used an iPhone to do so. It was one of these things where he took his iPhone underneath the changing room door and I guess was taking pictures. Police say the man first approached a 26-year-old woman inside the Target, placing the phone under her as she was dressing, and then ran away when she opened the door. The same man approached a 46-year-old at the same Target, placed that same iPhone under her skirt before running away. So they want to catch this guy desperately. Shoppers say, of course, they're disturbed, as they should be, by this incident. So disturbed that it's silent. Here, let's try this.
Bad people go all over. You got to lock them up and to grab the camera and just stomp it with your foot.
Oh, that's not a bad idea. Police, again, providing a photo of them, and we'll put it up at WABCRadio.com. 5:49. The MTA, since last Friday and through the weekend, touting this historic drop in subway crime for the month of July. Officials say overall felonies in the subway down 8%, with felony assaults alone down by 9.3%. But riders don't believe it. They say what they see with their own eyes is some dangerous situations.
I've heard there's been a lot of harassment in the subways too, so I don't know about that. I wouldn't say Save July on record.
Where are they getting the numbers from? Because the violence seems like it's up. It's so not true.
I don't believe the MTA for anything, not even accurate train time.
Now, the announcement came just hours after a man was shoved onto the 1 tracks at the 50th Street station here in Manhattan. Another person was slashed at an East Village subway station. So they say, wait, do you include those in the numbers?
There's a reason to say to raise more money. And I thought that your congestion pricing was enough for MTA, but obviously it's not.
I definitely believe they're trying to raise it, and I definitely believe it would be in their advantage to give any reason, any good reason to raise it. I'm already paying pissed that I got to pay $2.90, to be honest with you. So if it's $3, I'd be more pissed.
Yeah, well, that fare is going up. It comes as the MTA considers, but they're really going to do it, raising fares come early 2026.
Get up, get down. Plant more trees across this town.
All right. Those are some advocates calling on the Department of Transportation to stop expanding highways across New York City. City Comptroller Brad Lander leading that chant. That was a little bit hard to hear as the DOT considers widening the Cross Bronx and Brooklyn-Queens corridors despite widespread pushback from local communities.
How about we put resources into bus rapid transit, which also can be interborough, and get people out of cars into mass transit? That's where we should be investing in our dollars, not in building more highways.
Advocates say both expressways carry nearly 300,000 vehicles every day, directly impacting nearby schools and public spaces, they say, with pollution.
You are choosing to continue to harm communities to benefit a small amount of people. And all of the evidence shows if you build it, they will come. More highways means more cars, not less congestion.
Yeah, so they're instead calling on officials to invest in public transit and implement community-led solutions. And, of course, people who drive on these roadways say we desperately need the upgrades. 552. New York State still waiting to hear from some school districts regarding their mandatory smartphone ban plan, despite the deadline that now passed. Some schools have not submitted those plans yet. Governor Hochul, she was in Middletown yesterday, where she announced that 90% of schools have handed in what she calls their distraction-free phone ban policy.
Change is hard. It is hard. But as I did my research and studied these trends and talked to countless parents and students about what's happening in their lives, I know we're on the right path.
Yeah, so yesterday she was talking to Hudson Valley school leaders about this new mandate that prohibits students from bringing smartphones to school at the start of this upcoming school year. So it will be a bell-to-bell cell phone ban.
They won't be conditioned on staring at a hand. They'll be used to making eye contact. They'll be used to conversations again. Your halls are going to have noises you have not heard in years.
It is interesting to hear from some parents who are pushing back against this. They're worried about emergency situations and being able to get in touch with their kids.
I just think of emergency. So you want to text your child or whoever you're a guardian to just to make sure they're okay.
But Governor Hochul says no. She says the teachers are in control, and especially in an emergency situation.
A highly trained professional at the front of the classroom who knows what to do. She will lead those children to safety. And that is the best outcome in that scenario.
All right, so that phone ban, of course, beginning after Labor Day when schools begin here in New York State. 554. This is always a little fun thing to watch at the U.S. Military Academy at West Point. More than 1,200 cadets from the class of 2029. They completed their field cadet basic training, culminating in the Academy's historic March Back. That's what it's called. It's a 12-mile trek that begins at 3 in the morning. This was yesterday, with cadets carrying 35 pounds as gear as they make their way back to the West Point barracks. Now, this march, it marks the final step in what is 6 weeks of rigorous basic military training, and it serves as the symbolic transition into academy life. So as they march through the streets, as they get closer to West Point, it's like a parade. There are people who are cheering them on. Here's one of the cadets who took part.
This is a widespread tradition where we also incorporate previous classes that have graduated from the United States Military Academy, where they march back with these new cadets.
Yeah, the March Back is deeply rooted in tradition at West Point. Class of 2029 will be formally accepted into the Academy during an official ceremony on August 16th. After more than 5 decades, a man miraculously has been reunited with the ring he got when he was a student at Fordham University. So apparently, he doesn't even remember doing this, but he dropped it into Long Island Sound. And then, you know, those guys who walk around with the metal detectors on the beach looking for cash? Well, one of these guys, his name is David Orlowski. He was scanning Cedar Beach, and he struck gold. All of a sudden, he heard the buzzer going off on his metal detector, and he started digging to see what it was.
Some things you can't explain how they got there. I got a good hit on the metal detector, and I dug for it, and it was very deep. It was probably like 1.5 feet deep, and I just kept digging, and finally it came out.
Yeah, and sure enough, it was the college ring from this guy. His name is Dr. Alfred D. Stefano, and he had lost the ring 56 years earlier. And when he got the call that this guy had his ring, he didn't really believe it at first, but then sure enough, he mailed it to him. He lives in Texas now.
I can't believe it. That's pretty cool. You got it back after 50-some-odd years? 56 years. Could you imagine that?
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And so both the metal detector guy and the guy who got his ring back are pretty damn excited.
When you think of the continents moving over hundreds of millions of years, a little ring could move over 50 years, a half a mile.
She says, well, if you lost your ring, wouldn't you want it returned?
Yeah.
And so right there, question answered.
Yeah, and so you might be asking, well, how did he know it was his ring? His name, DeStefano's name, was inside the band. And
you okay?
What's that?
Are you okay?
What do you mean?
No, I'm just listening to this story. I'm wondering if you're okay.
Why, you don't like this story?
It's dumb.
Why is it dumb? Somebody who lost his ring 56 years ago, a guy with one of those metal detectors on the beach found it, and he sent it back to him. That's a great story.
It is?
Yeah.
Lou hates it.
Why would I hate it? It's a boredom person.
Oh, good point.
Yeah.
Mike Gunzelman went to Fordham.
Oh, well, thanks for bringing me back down to earth.
All right.
Oh, it's a nice story.
All right. You changed your mind.
No.
He didn't change his mind, no.
Thanks for listening to the News Hour with Noam Laden. You can hear the News Hour with Noam Laden weekday mornings at 5 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode, so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?